Now at 11 on Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45, an outpouring of support was shown tonight at a vigil for missing teacher Bianca Tanner. We'll take you there. Also, you may want to watch your speed while traveling through the Twin City. Hear why police are cracking down. And Tropical Storm Arthur continues to threaten the coast of the Carolinas. Meteorologist Doug Lindsay has the latest on the storm's strength and track.
You're watching Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
And thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Sharon Stone. We should start tonight with meteorologist Doug Lindsay. And Doug, we had really hot weather today. And of course, we've got to keep our eye on Arthur as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot to think about, and we've got stormy conditions on the way too as we roll in the weather as we head to the 4th along the coastal areas of the Carolinas. A lot more on that impact coming up in just a few minutes.
See you in a few. Thank you, Doug. The boyfriend of missing Guilford County teacher Bianca Tanner is out of jail. A judge reduced Angelo Smith Jr.'s bond today for the charge of contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police say he is now a person of interest in Tanner's disappearance. Smith's mother says she still hopes Bianca will be found safe.
I'm praying for the safety return of Bianca, and I'm thanking the Lord for this day.
There was no mention of Smith at a vigil for Tanner tonight. Family and friends gathered at Tanner's alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University, to rally and show support. Jenna Barnes joins us now from the campus of A&T with more.
Well, I'm Jenna Barnes, Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
Thank you, Jenna. And the judge ordered Smith Jr. to wear an electronic monitor and be under house arrest. If anything changes in this case, the judge can change those terms. The State House has given preliminary approval to a bill telling Duke Energy how to clean up coal ash sites throughout North Carolina. House lawmakers debated the measure with 21 amendments for more than 4 hours this evening after it advanced in committee earlier in the day. This bill requires high-risk dam owners to have an emergency action plan. It also extends the expiration date for a moratorium on rate changes for Duke Energy to December 31st, 2016 to keep the company from raising rates on customers to pay for the cleanup costs. The plan gives Duke a little more leeway on its deadline than the Senate version gave to close its coal ash dumps by 2029. The State House and Senate budget negotiators are getting a little closer to finding a compromise. In a rare public negotiation, the two sides put proposals on the table. Within 2 hours, there was an agreement on one of the biggest sticking points in the budget: how much money is needed for Medicaid. Leaders in the two chambers say it's not an ideal number for either of them, but they both agree it was a handshake deal that was needed.
You know, it's appropriate for us to make sure that we're reserving for the risk. I think the Senate was wise in asking the questions and getting to consensus numbers, and I'm glad we were able to come to a point to where I think we have a consensus between the House, the Senate, and the governor.
I hope we're wrong, and we don't need the additional money that we were pushing for. But in order to move the process along, I think it was the thing for us to do is to go ahead and move off that number.
There are still some big hurdles to cross in this budget, including how much of a pay raise to give teachers and whether they should fund teaching assistants. The Davie County Senior Center is headed for expansion to keep pace with growth in the senior population. The new facility opened in 2007. It was clear even then that at some point the facility would need more space.
There would be additional needs that were coming. With the senior population rising the way that it is, with the numbers that we were already seeing as far as participants, we knew that it was just a matter of time before we needed another expansion.
County commissioners approved $800,000 for the expansion. The project will include a new exercise room, additional classroom space, and expansion of the center's lunch program. Work could get underway in about 6 months. The City of Greensboro Police Chief Ken Miller announced his retirement today. City officials say Miller will be moving on to pursue police or executive leadership opportunities in other jurisdictions. He'll be leaving between the beginning of September and the end of the year. He joined the department in 2010, and city leaders say overall crime is now at its lowest level in 4 decades. The city will begin the process of finding a replacement and is prepared to name an acting chief to serve in the transition period. If your July 4th travel plans take you through the Twin City, you may want to watch how fast you're going. Winston-Salem police are cracking down on speeding. The traffic enforcement unit was handing out tickets this morning on the westbound lanes heading into 5th Street.
This is one of our big accident locations, and we're continuously having speeding problems. I mean, we've been out here almost every day the last 2 weeks, and we're still getting them 76. Everything's 15 and above.
The speed limit drops from 55 to 45 miles an hour as the highway reaches US 52, a heavily congested intersection. Police handed out over 20 citations in just 1 hour. Some Rockingham County families getting help feeding their children throughout the summer. The county launched its first summer meals program today. The C. Ray and Cynthia Kennedy Foundation is helping support 3 sites across the county where anyone 18 and under can show up, get a meal, no registration or identification required. Organizers hope more people will get involved so they can continue to improve access for kids in need.
There's room for others to join in on this campaign. We need to figure out a way where we all as a community, as a village, can do our parts to try to make sure that children continue to receive good, nutritious meals during the summer.
The Reedsville Housing Authority is one of the new locations that will be open every day throughout the summer. And coming up next here at 11 o'clock.
I'm meteorologist Doug Lindsay. Cold front approaching from the north and west.
Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
The National Hurricane Center issued a hurricane warning for Carteret, Dare, Hyde, and Onslow counties. Hatteras Island is under a mandatory evacuation starting in the morning. Governor Pat McCrory declared a state of emergency for 25 coastal counties this morning. The Coast Guard says the strong winds associated with Arthur could make for dangerous water conditions. They say this could cause trouble for boats through Sunday.
Once the storm passes through and the sky's clear and it's a beautiful sunny weekend, it may take several days for the seas and the rip currents to subside. There may also be some residual wrecks or shoaling in the area that would pose hazards to the boaters.
The Coast Guard asks if you do decide to go out, monitor the weather, stay close to the dock, and have all the necessary safety gear on board. Doug, I thought that was a really interesting point. Just because it looks clear doesn't mean we're in the clear.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of that whole thing, really. I was thinking about that as the storm pulls away. A lot of times it can get sunny and look beautiful very quickly, but that lingering effect of the rip currents, that can really be a big deal. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's very good advice. Storm tracker radar is looking peaceful across the area for the moment. Looks fantastic, and we start getting hotter again next week. That's your Weather on the Ones forecast. Sharon, back to you.
All right, thanks, Doug. And your sports is coming up next tonight. NASCAR takes over Daytona. Jason Brown has all the details. And the firework business is booming ahead of Independence Day. That's in our Carolina Minute. And Jason Brown is here now with a wrap-up. Jason, it's almost the 4th. That means we've got to talk a little racing.
That's right. As American as anything else in this country, Beatty moves on to the semifinals. Also, congratulations to Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. He is ranked 15th of the top 100 players in the NFL's recent list.
Congrats to him. Thank you, Jason. More news after the break, and your live lotto is up next. Now here's tonight's Carolina Minute. 3 people accused of holding a woman captive at a Fayetteville hotel and forcing her into prostitution appeared in court today. All the suspects face human trafficking and sexual servitude charges. Police say one of them met the victim online and convinced her to meet up. They believe this bust will lead to others. Members of the Jewish Federation of Durham and Chapel Hill and others in the Triangle gathered tonight to honor the life of 3 teenagers who were murdered in Israel earlier this week. The group says they also mourn for Israel and grieve over the violence in the Middle East. Palestinians have accused Israelis of killing a teenage boy and burning his body in revenge for the death of the 3 Israeli teenagers. And the fireworks business is booming on the other side of the border. Fireworks salesmen say this week is the busiest of the year. While North Carolina has strict laws on the use of fireworks, businesses benefit from those traveling to South Carolina to buy firecrackers to celebrate. The USA men's soccer team may have lost in the World Cup, but the team's goalie is making headlines around the world. Tim Howard is all over social media for his historic performance throughout the World Cup. Lisa Pappas tells us why the player is setting more than just a trend on Twitter.
They're going to keep getting better with players like Tim Howard.
In Charlotte, Lisa Pappas, Time Warner Cable News.
Howard says he plans to head home to England, where he plays for the English Premier League. Not only does he block shots, but he is one of the few goalkeepers to actually score a goal from his own goalie box. To check out that video, just go to our website, twcnews.com, and search Tim Howard. Doug, I really enjoyed the Secretary of Defense comparison. I even read that Chuck Hagel called him to congratulate.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I actually played goalie in soccer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're talking about, back in the dinosaur times when I was in high school. But yeah, I did. Obviously wasn't very good. Storm tracker radar is nice and peaceful, at least in the immediate area. Some storms to the north, and we may see a few showers or storms pop in our area as we head through the overnight hours. But everybody's talking about Arthur, just below hurricane strength right now and moving to the north, and it looks to basically make a beeline for the Carolina coastline as we get into the day tomorrow and then through at least the first half of the day on Independence Day. There are the latest numbers, winds at 70 miles an hour. Good news is it doesn't really impact our weather except to bring us more mugginess, which adds to the mix for tomorrow with a good chance for scattered showers and storms. But the 4th of July and the rest of the holiday weekend looking good. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Soccer may not have worked out for you, Doug, but weather did. I enjoy you every night. And finally here, cyclists have a new place to ride in Reedsville. The city will help volunteers put in a new mountain biking trail right across from the Lake Reedsville entrance. Sits on 30-acre site surrounded by some woods. Right now the trail is a mile long and is easy for riders of all ages.
We're going to add additional trail in there that'll be more, mid-level rider, so that we can try to engage not just the people in the community here, but also, other counties.
Davis hopes to start organizing weekend bike rides and other events on the new trail. That's our time. Thanks for joining us. Jimmy Kimmel Live is next.